My guests today are Yahakwa and Janela, and I'm very excited to have you here. And basically, I want to hear your story and I want to know what happened. I've read a lot about it, and you guys have been openly wonderful in letting me into your world, and it
Absolutely.
matters. So, first, can you start by telling me like where you're from?
We're in Stark County, Ohio. So a lot of people are maybe familiar with that because it's where the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay.
Okay. If we can start from the kind of the beginning, you were doing great. School was going fine for a while.
This was all back in elementary school, and everything was fine and good, and there was no issues for first years. But then the last year of elementary school and fifth grade is when stuff just started to take a turn for the worse. To be honest with you, I wasn't prepared and I didn't expect it.
Everything was what appeared to be normal. It was actually a student who was the teacher's son. Okay, the name calling. Okay, it started in it started in the lunchroom. He would ask him things like, so what color are you anyway, or what are you anyway?
Ethnicity. What's your ethnicity?
With your ethnicity.
Like, what are you mixed with? There was some assignment because I was chosen to like help the younger kids read. I was really proud of that because I'm like,
absolutely,
to help kids because I absolutely love kids.
Oh, that's great.
To get to help them, I was really happy about that. And he was picked too, so we were on our way to a classroom to help the younger kids read, and just conversations, because there was the other kid there too. It was just normal conversations and things like that. And then we got talking about like, why do girls like us and stuff like that. And just,
boy talk, whatever.
Boy talk, right. And, we got to talking about that. And he's like, and I made a comment. I'm like, personally, like, girls like me because of my hair. I get commented on like all the time on it. And he said, well, if they like the texture of your hair, do they like the color of your skin?
Whoa.
And how
old is this child? Like 10?
Right.
That's loaded.
They were 10 years old at the time.
Yeah, rather sophisticated way to go.
Right.
Dang.
And so that was like one of the second things that was said. One of the comments that was said from the student, girls don't like you, or do they like you because of your skin color?
Wow.
And what I was trying to do was I was trying to let it go, because this was probably the second thing that happened. And I was just trying to get to the end of the school year.
As a parent, you're thinking just write it out, whatever
I'm trying to write it out. It's his last year at the elementary, and I'm just trying to write the thing out. But it just continued. The name calling continued, and then also too, in the midst of that, and before we get to the other derogatory racial terms, there were some incidents with the librarian.
Kids in front of me, we were all getting books and checking out like the whole entire class. And a few kids in front of me who weren't of color, they had like, thicker books because they could, read better and get higher level.
Yeah, you pick your books and write longer.
So they weren't of color and they were able to get them. And when I had a higher level grade book, because I wanted to read, it was actually one of my mom's and mine. It was our favorite book. It was The Little House on the Prairie.
Oh my gosh, I read those to my kids, yeah.
Right. It was a good sized book. So they were able to get books like that,
those are,
thicker books.
Yeah.
But when it came to me, I couldn't get it.
She said no? Oh no, you can't have that book?
Right. She forced me to put it back.
Right. And one of the things that she said, the excuse that she gave, she said that the book is too large and you cannot read it in a week's time.
Right.
That was her excuse for not allowing him to get the book.
Even though the kids who went in front of me, they had honestly larger books than mine. It was like about 2 times the size of mine.
So you noticed that as a little guy, you're like, okay.
Right.
That's wow.
And Kimberly, after when he explained that to me, another thing that he said, and because remember, he was 10 years old at the time.
Right,
he remembered everything. And he said, Dad, he was like basically like, I remember a couple weeks prior, the same librarian had snatched a book out of his hand and gave it to a white student, okay, a couple of weeks prior to that. And so this is why he was starting to put two and two together. So prior to the incident that he just explained about, you know, the librarian not letting him have the book, she had snatched the book out of his hand a couple of weeks prior and gave it to a white student.
So these people have issues. I mean,
they had some issues. Yes, they did. There was a student teacher one day who actually overheard the conversation. She went up to the student and said, you know what, that wasn't very nice what you said. She did not go to the principal. She did not go to anyone else. This is just something that she said to the student. All of this was, you know, was starting to be swept under the rug.
It was PE. It was time for gym. And we were just, you know, I think it was after we just got done doing an activity. And the kids were talking because we were on our break and, like, you know, catching our breaths.
Right.
And him and his friend were talking, and they came to me and asked me if I wanted to hear a joke. And I said, sure. And I don't remember it like word for word and verbatim, but overall it was a joke about Black people being shot.
So the joke was basically, what's a Black person's worst nightmare? And then the answer was the last one to get shot. And so if anybody doesn't understand what that means, or what we perceived it to mean, let me explain. So what's a Black person's worst nightmare? The last one to get shot. So we know that in this country, we know that the so-called African-American are always victims of unjust shootings, killings, and murders.
Absolutely.
So we're the first ones, okay? So the joke was meaning that the worst nightmare would be the last one to get shot. So the anticipation of waiting
and having to watch everybody else get
right, and then the last one to get shot. That's how we took it. And then he bulged his eyes and started laughing, you know, really loud. And so I'm thinking that the bulging of the eyes is a symbolism of blackface, okay? You know, especially after telling some type of racial joke, okay? Student's father was a known racist in our community. I'm
not shocked in any way, shape, or form.
Right. This is what we were told.
I'm so sorry. God.
Right. This is what so the point is that we believe that the student had two issues. One, his mother was the teacher, so he probably felt like he'd get away with anything. And two, if he was dealing with a father who was racist, okay? Because right, a lot of the things that he was saying, I just don't believe that it was actually coming from him, okay?
It's sophisticated. It's
right. He's a kid, right? And so so after that incident, after the joke, I was just like, I just can't let this go. So according to them, they wasn't aware of anything until I actually filed for a formal investigation. So once they found out, that's what started the first investigation. The district hired an investigator. I had contacted the superintendent, and I had told him I did not want them questioning Genoa about anything without my permission.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. So they were having while the investigation was going on, they were having some type of survey, okay, that the students were filling out. And one of the questions was, it was a very tricky question, was, do you feel comfortable talking to a teacher, okay, or an adult or something of that nature? And so Genoa did not feel comfortable, but he asked the student's mother, okay, because it was his homeroom teacher. He asked her,
what was his homeroom?
She was his home. Yes, she was his homeroom teacher. Right. Yep. And so Genoa, it was kind of like a trick question, because Genoa did not feel comfortable talking to anyone at the school. So he asked the teacher. He was like, "Is this referring to someone in the school or my parent?" And so she took him outside of the room, okay, into the hallway, and start interrogating him with questions. Basically,
exactly what you said not to do.
She basically looked at him very intimidating and was like, "Genoa, is there something going on at home that we're not aware of?"
Was she kind of alluding to something that parents were doing something to him, or was she going there? Was she going there?
She was, yep. And that's a great point. That's a great point that you caught. That's a great point you caught. And absolutely, that's what I believe without a shadow of a doubt. In our opinion, what she was trying to do was basically trying to see if she could get anything to try to turn.
Put dirt on you.
Right, to try to get him to turn on us.
Absolutely, yeah.
That did not happen. This whole situation was extremely traumatic. So it was even difficult for Genoa to even go to school. He was so distraught. He was so upset. I mean, it was gut-wrenching as a father
I can't
send him
imagine.
to school during that time, especially after the investigation had gotten started, because we knew that the eyes were going to be on him at that time.
Are you in a pretty white area, or is it pretty like mixed with lots of people of different multicultural backgrounds? Or
so the city that we live in is somewhat pretty diverse. It was not the Alliance City School District, and I wanted to bring that up because when the newspaper articles came out, and then when the Fox 8 News story came out, and I think people may have assumed that it's Alliance City Schools, and so I want to just be clear that
it's like
not Alliance City Schools. So the city that we live in is diverse. However, the district that he was going to was not very diverse at all. As a matter of fact, we had.
I understand what you mean. My town's like that too.
Right, and we had found out that there was no African American or minority teachers within the entire district. Okay, and then at the particular school that he had went to, the percentage of minorities was extremely low. And so, long story short, once again, that report came back that they felt that it did not rise to the level of bullying. However, what they concluded that the district's anti-bullying policy and procedures did not comport with their standards. So basically, the way that the district had their policy written, it was written that multiple incidents, racial or bullying incidents, had to happen before anything could be done. And the education department said, no, this should word that any single incident should be a violation. When that report or investigation came back that it didn't rise to the level of bullying, that's when I hired an attorney with plans to sue the district. Okay, so again, there were two. The first one, they hired their own law firm or attorney. Okay, that they have on staff. From the board has their own attorneys on staff, of course, and that was the first one where it came back. She said that it didn't rise to the level of bullying. So then I used a state agency. So I did this one on my own, the state agency, to do another investigation. And pretty much, even though I provided overwhelming evidence, it came back the same thing. But again, that's what I was telling you, that they said that their anti-bullying policy did not comport with their standards.
And there's actually something I want to say. I don't want to stop you from asking the question, but I completely forgot. So the librarian, the teacher's son, and the music teacher as well. Yeah. There's been incidents with that where it took me some time to realize like what it was, but he was just vicious. He was just so foul and just so nasty at times. Just like he would just scream.
He treated you different. He treated you different.
And what I was about to say is, I noticed he would always target the very few people of color that was in my class. Like he would yell at the other kids, but he would mainly yell and just scream and target at the people of color. And there are two incidents with me. I remember one time that my friend was talking to me, and I knew we shouldn't be talking because he was talking, and that was a rule. And so she was talking to me, and he just turned over. And even though I wasn't the one talking, it was my friend next to me. I got screamed at, even though it wasn't me. He put her blame on me. And there was another incident where at the school bus, he would literally wait at the door and just harass me every single time I was going home to always bring your instruments and stuff like that. And it would mainly be the people of color.
Calling you out you're the ones who are going to forget. You're the
Right. And I'm glad he brought that up, because that incident was so with those incidents from the music teacher was so bad, I eventually removed him from music. So after those two investigations came back basically inconclusive, that's when I decided to hire an attorney, okay? And it took me some time to find an attorney that would take the case, but I finally found one, and we were working out everything. The paperwork was drafted up. However, before the paperwork was filed, Genoa came to me and he said, "Dad," he said, "I want to go a different direction." And so I'll let you explain
Okay,
it.
well, that is something that's, I'm just so sorry you had to use your emotional energy to do something that should be, and I'm so sorry for both of you. I mean, but it sounds like, I mean, I had one more question. I mean, I'm just so
Sure.
impressed by your perseverance and your indomitable spirit. What you did as a dad and for your child, and you too, young man. That's you're a winner. I mean, you just are. No one's gonna put, you went through, sounds like a lot of hell, but you know who you are and you know you matter. And that is like, I want to know what this little boy, was there any consequences for this child?
Yeah, so at the end of the year, unfortunately, even though, excuse me, this was going on for like a very long time, they chose that the last few days is when he's gonna get his punishment, even though all of those months, these things were going on and nothing happened. They decided that the last 3 days of school, like, the last 3 days, and then summer break is when he's going to get his punishment. And then they didn't even report that. Like, that happened, and then they didn't even report it.
Yeah, that's
Tell me
right.
more.
Right. See, this is bringing up a lot, and then I'm remembering.
Yeah.
So every year, the local newspaper here, they put out a bullying report.
Yes.
Okay,
Really?
and the districts are supposed to report if there were any incidents. And we noticed when the report came out that there was no incidents reported from this particular district.
Wow.
And they had zero report, and even though we filed the case long before this came out, so it was supposed to be at least one, but they reported zero, as if nothing had happened.
So to them, nothing happened.
Right, to them, nothing happened. That was 5th grade. We removed him from the district. We started a cross between online schooling and now homeschooling, because it was just, we just didn't want him, in the school system anymore. So
like middle school, you didn't want to get him in middle school and
right,
school.
Because it's just the bullying and stuff like that is just going to get worse and worse as you go on.
Right. Right, and so that was a transition, especially that first year or two. It was a huge transition.
What a difficult thing for your family.
He lost out a lot socially, with friends and things of that nature. He's kind of used to it now and actually enjoys it now. But then it was a huge transition.
He's a little boy, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And so the impact on your family.
Yeah. It was huge. It was huge. Because, I work from home, which is good, and my wife is a wonderful stay-at-home mother. So she was able to help him with his online schooling for those few years, and she did an excellent job. The only thing that I would do is she would every now and then ask me to send her over an attachment or something for his homework or something like that. So I did that. So it was definitely a huge transition for all of us, and it was very difficult for those first couple of years.
That's the whole family affair. That's not right. That's
right.
And all because, wow, I'm just kind of in shock that they would not have. The teacher. I'm just thinking, a teacher's son. I would have. Oh.
And
she was in on it too.
Yeah, and and here's the thing with that. And see, this is another thing why sometimes you have to hold people accountable, because that is definitely something that I found in the conclusion. Investigator recommended that the district maybe need to consider changing their policy on students who, or on parents who have students in the same school district and in the same class. So the district investigator, made a recommendation, because I don't know if that's such a good thing. Look at what happened. Look at what could happen. It definitely happened in our circumstance and situation. And I strongly believe
special treatment.
Right. one of the it's called power imbalance. Okay, and
Absolutely.
that was a
Yeah.
huge power imbalance that had taken place that put Genoa in a very, very unfair situation.
It's extremely unfair having the teacher is one of your teachers of the child who is racially bullying you
In the same class,
in the same class.
Yep, in the same class.
See, that's where in my mind as a teacher and a former administrator, you go harsh the other way. I mean, that is, but of course, it sounds like they protected him, and
Right.
it sounds like the culture of the school in general was very uncomfortable
Right.
talking about.
And I noticed, and this is why anytime that I get the chance, I always say the teacher's son, because I noticed that in these investigations, they didn't want to say it. They didn't want to say teacher's son. They just kept referring to him as the student. And that's fine. You know, they didn't give names, but
that matters.
They never said teacher's son. They kept leaving that out. And so that's a very critical aspect of our situation and what happened.
Details matter.
Yeah, it's huge. And so, definitely.
It puts you in a total power imbalance, and that's a horrible thing. I am just so sorry that happened to you. But I want to hear, wow. And you know what? The good thing, what you did, and I know you probably know this, is you opened the door on this for, even if they didn't report it in the newspaper and all that, these people are going to be a little more aware. If nothing else, they're not going to be less racist, but they will keep their mouth shut. Nobody should have to put up with this kind of thing, and have it in their environment, especially you.
Right, and just a special note on that real quick, you just reminded me of something.
Sure.
When the investigation took place and we explained that the student teacher overheard one of the racial derogatory comments, guess what she said? She said, I never heard anything.
Wait, the teacher or the
student teacher? Yeah. During the investigation, she said, I don't recall that at all.
You know what you're doing for the future generations? You might not believe that, but every person like you and your father and your mom who say, I am not going to do nothing and just let this know. You are, even if it's that much, just a little bit more, you are opening people. And again, you can't change hearts. We all know that you have to do it yourself. But you are helping people tremendously. Even if they hear your story and they've never had a problem in their life, they'll go, wow. They'll understand that they should be valued and that they matter. And I mean, you're a role model. I'm just saying, you guys are both, I'm blown away. I'm just honored to meet you.
I would like to say, even though that whole experience, it was just very traumatic and very hurtful. And this honestly might sound shocking, but I'm actually glad it happened because I just have a better understanding and I just got a first look of what goes on in society today. And I'm just glad that it happened honestly at a younger age. So as I get older and like I can just do something about it.
Right. You've known from here on out, you'll always have that under your, and I think that is such a positive, great way to look at it. I mean, I really have to credit you for that because I think a lot of people your age or even adults would never go there, but credits to your whole family and you're a really mature kid. I think that you are going to do great things no matter what you do. You know why? You already are.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. And that just leads me to you said something, and I guess this is where we can go into the positive of this, is that you were saying that you had said that you can't believe that the district got away with, but we don't believe that they did, and this is where the good of it comes in, because what I was sharing was when I hired the attorney, before I filed the paperwork, Genoa came to me with an idea, and he said, Dad, he said, I want to go a different route. He said, I really don't want to go through a long, drawn out court battle. Mm-hmm. And so I said, son, well, what do you want to do? He said, I'll let you go ahead and explain.
Yep, I wanted to start a clothing line. My dad has many years of experience on entrepreneurship. Thank goodness I was born into an entrepreneurial family.
That's awesome.
From him. So I got those skills and that mindset from him. And I really like fashion. So I just wanted to take those two things and I wanted to turn it into a business. So I came to him with an idea of starting a clothing line. I said, Dad, I want to start a clothing line called Urban Stereotype. And what Urban Stereotype would be is a positive clothing brand that supports cultural and ethnic diversity.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And so when he first came to me with it,
Blowing
I,
you away.
yeah, I kind of I kind of blew it off for a couple of weeks because remember, this was a very emotional for me. I had put in a couple of years in, but I know my son and I trust him. He is a very creative mind. And so when I thought about it, and I said urban stereotype, I said cultural and ethnic diversity, and I said this could be a way that we can turn this negative into good. And so that's what we did. And
So cool.
so what urban stereotype does is that one of the things that we do is we come up with positive quotes and sayings so that people can feel good about who they are. And one of the interesting things about Urban Stereotype is our logo. Okay, hopefully they can see it here, because
I can.
Not only does the logo stand for Urban Stereotype, it also spells out the word
Us.
us.
Yeah,
us.
you got it.
And really that us
That's
is important.
beautiful.
And the us is important because not only is urban stereotype for those who experience cultural and stereotyping and racism, it's also for those who are against those negative behaviors. And so that us is very, very important because it's bridging a gap for positive cultural and ethnic diversity. And so he came out with this clothing line.
That's absolutely amazing.
I'm going to show you some of the sayings that the quotes that have been impacting people. So one of our very popular shirts is a shirt that says "Love Yourself." Okay, and another a very unique thing that we do is we incorporate the logo into all of our designs. So you can see the U, the U in your, and then the S in self comes down. And so this is a very, very popular shirt. And then we have another one that says "Feeling good about us."
Not just right. That is awesome.
And so people can they can
inclusion and we're community.
Right, exactly.
Amazing.
And so people can go to our website at urbanstereotype.com to find out more about the cause, the mission, and our product line. And Kimberly, we also want to get you a shirt too. If you like this shirt, we just got it designed. So I'm going to show you a picture of it. And I think this is so
I will be thrilled with anything. I'm like, you're so sweet.
I think this is so fitting to you and your cause. And this one says, oh, you probably can't see it.
A little bit of a shadow. Yeah, you can.
I don't know if you can see it. It says, if they can't see it.
Oh, wait, a little closer. There we go.
It says, can't relate to hate.
Love it. Yep. Love it.
And that's one of the missions of Urban Stereotype is to promote positivity, no matter what your culture is, no matter what your ethnicity is. We want to bridge a gap to make people feel good about who they are. And so
really have turned this around. You really have.
So we completely turned this situation around, all due to Genoa coming to me with this idea and this vision versus going a route that wouldn't have been so positive. He's been fortunate enough to get some media attention lately. So he actually was on the front page, and this is very rare. He was actually on the front page of 2 different newspapers just last week. That one is the
awesome
Repository.
You bring it a little closer? I want to see that. Just a little bit closer.
He was on the front page of the Kent Repository. And then he was also on the front page of the Alliance Review. It's kind of dark.
Oh, and there's your logo and your design.
Yep. So he was on the front page on the same day. And then the next day, we got a phone call from Fox 8 News in Cleveland, Ohio. And they came that very next day and did an interview. So if anyone wants to see that, they can just they can go to Google and type in Genoa Lee, Fox 8 News, and pull up the link, and they can watch his story as well.
Your story is, I mean, obviously it's a story that started as such a, oh my gosh, such a loaded thing. It's just such a upsetting, but my goodness, you've turned this around. I mean, you realize you're not just helping like 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 kids. You're going to be helping thousands of people. Do you realize that? I'm absolutely serious. Because as a person who has, people who watch me, friends and followers, and that, your impact at your age, you got to be really proud. I mean, seriously.
And he's just 14. Yeah, let me
You're
mention
only
it
14.
because a lot of people think he's a lot older. Because,
Of course.
Yeah, he did that a lot. I mean, there are companies that offer they want to offer him a job because they think he's at least 16. But no,
Right.
Genoa is 14 years old, and
You present yourself as an older child. I mean, you really do.
yeah, he's
Amazing.
yeah, he's very mature.
Yeah.
He's just I just as a parent and my wife would attest to this. We're so pleased with him and who he's become. And so, but yeah, he's just 14 years old, so he has a long.
You have a lifetime ahead of you, young man.
Yeah, to make impact, and man, and he's been coming up with good ideas for a long time, and probably ever since he was about 10 years old, I started noticing a lot of the talent and abilities he has. But yeah, he's 14 years old, so now he's been doing entrepreneurial shows. People are contacting him to do speaking engagements, and so we are so excited about his future.
You found your way. You did it. Both of you, and you have parents that are supportive, and they get it, and you're going to make a difference in the world. You already are. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm just so honored and thrilled that I got to talk to you and hear your story, and that I get a chance to get other people to hear it, because I cannot I can't express enough how people need to hear this. This is real.
So yeah, reach out to us. We'd appreciate for anyone to purchase some of our gear. We have a selection.
I'm in. I'm already have my eyeball on a few of those things.
We also too have a crowdfunding GoFundMe campaign, and they can get that information on our site as well, because we're trying to really help him grow this. The media coverage has been great, but there's still a lot of funding that goes into trying to help expenses to get this venture off the ground. So if anyone feels led to support us via our GoFundMe campaign, that information is on the site as well. But that's about it.
If you like your news about systemic racism served with a side order of honesty and integrity, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel.